Hello and welcome to Battle Streams in Middle Earth, and welcome to Damian's hobby vlog number 6, I think, and this is the conclusion of the epic trilogy, the third and final part of my road to the SBG GT vlogs. So yeah, indeed, hopefully if you're just arriving at this video, you need to go and watch the first 2 parts, because otherwise none of this will make sense. But this has been a 6-week journey to take me from a fellowship modelling odyssey to get me to the SBG photoshoot and then the Warhammer World GT. So brief recap, 5 weeks ago, as I'm currently recording this, we started and we had 5 weeks until the SBG photoshoot. So we built up the Watcher in the Water, who's here, we painted Celeborn, we built a Balin's Tomb board, I built and painted Amon Hen, I assembled some Dwarrowdale stuff, and I built this cliff. And then all of that stuff got done. There's a few bits that didn't, but more on them in a moment. All that stuff got done, and we took it to the SBG photoshoot last weekend, which is like yesterday, it's Monday here, and took all the photos, and that was great, and it all went very, very well. But the journey doesn't end there. We need to get to the GT, and the GT is next weekend. So that means I'm leaving for the GT on Friday, so I've got 4 evenings, and I've got some stuff to do to kind of finish off this project finally. So, brief chat about what that is. I've got my Balin's Tomb board here, which I made to be photographed. It's custom made, literally to shoot a camera straight into Balin's Tomb and take some photos. Went really, really well. The photos look great. I can't wait for you to see them. But because I was making this, I also realised this is essentially a display board. So I built a display board. I've still got the masking tape around here because I didn't need to take it off, and I knew there'd be some more hobby coming. But this is going to be part of my display board for the GT. But my GT army, as I set out in part 1, is the Fellowship, is my good force, and a Moria army, which would all look thematic in here, like nice and lovely, plus the Watcher in the Water. There's no way I wasn't bringing her, given all the effort I put into painting her. And obviously she doesn't fit in here, kind of, you know, physically or thematically. Where does she fit? On here, on the cliffs that I built for the photo shoot. But I think we'd all agree that this is a slightly unwieldy display board. So now, as I said, I think I've explained some of this before, but it will be in a different vlog, so I think it bears repeating. This was designed to take the photographs for SBG, but also to become the display board. That was always the plan. And so, what we're now going to do is this thing, as I said, it's Monday. This was finished on Saturday. This has been finished for 48 hours, and I'm going to destroy it now. This thing has got a shorter life cycle than a moth. It's cool, it's served its purpose. I feel quite KonMari about this. I feel kind of this has done its job. This isn't a sad thing. It's time to cut it in half. You might already see that there's these 3 grooves in here, like kind of polystyrene holes. It's already been hacked into, as you can see. You can speculate on that. I think I told you in the last video quite why that was. But as you can see, I feel very good about this. This thing serves its purpose. It took me under a week to build. It cost me 10 quid just for an extra bit of insulation foam. So I don't feel any kind of emotional attachment to it, and it's done brilliantly in SPG, and now hopefully it'll do brilliantly at the GT as well. So yeah, I wanted to kind of bring it up here and make sure you get a nice good look at it. Take a look at it. It's had a great life. It's time to destroy it. So if you want to see a man hysterically cut apart scenery he's been desperately trying to finish the week before, this is the vlog for you. It's going to be fun. So yeah, that's the plan. So how's that going to work? Well, here's where my absolute insanity came in. The dimensions of this, as I honestly can't remember if I said this in part 2, because at the time I'm recording this I haven't edited part 2, so I haven't gone back and reviewed the footage. But I might have gone through this before, but who cares? Everyone loves repetition. The height of this was designed that it needed to be this high for a picture in SBG, let's just say that. So it had to be this high. So that was one of the considerations. We also had the consideration of making sure there was enough cliff either side so that we could either have the gate in the middle of a double page spread or the middle of a double page spread here. So if you imagine that could be a page and this could be a page, or that could be a page and that could be a page. So I had to design that. So first and foremost I was designing for that, but also I had in mind this display board. So what we can hopefully see is what I'm now going to do is we've got the thickness of Balin's Tomb here, and I don't know really how I can show you this, but if I was to, you can actually kind of see where the gate goes on the back, where this hole is, where the lights are. if I was to line Barlin's tomb up, something like that, you see that it kind of covers the gate entirely. So the gate width is about the kind of width of the tomb. So what we're going to do, I'm going to saw this bit off, this chunk here, throw it away. I'll keep it in there. I don't know, I won't throw it away. I'll keep it in case of future cliff emergencies or something. But that bit just goes entirely. I'm then going to saw it along this line, where past Damian did a big black line, as you can see, because that means if I saw it there, that will butt up against the edge of the board. You sort of see that? Hopefully you can see that kind of black line running down there to the edge of this board, and then I'm going to cut it at the other bit. So suddenly we've got something that is the width of Barlin's tomb. Then, what I'm going to do is take this whole section, which will have been cut off, and I'm going to turn it 90 degrees so it runs along here. And this section, this is the other consideration of building it, this section is long enough to do the depth of the board intentionally. So this whole section gets brought off, the ground and the water get chucked in the emergency cliff box, and I keep the cliff, swing it round, glue it onto this bit going along here, stick another bank underneath it and sort of tidy it up. And then suddenly I've got an L-shaped cliff. And hopefully you'll notice that if you imagine there's then an L-shaped cliff on the end of here, and this water is the depth of the Watcher in the Water's base. Yeah, again, intentionally. So on that display board, the Watcher in the Water can sit and gribble at the gate and fit onto the board. There'd be a big cliff here. You notice how again the bank was designed to allow the kind of tentacles to kind of reach up the bank essentially. Or if I'd rather, for display purposes, she can face the front. So that's the kind of idea, that there'll be a cliff along here. Now obviously that's going to make a bloody mess. So as part of that process, I'm inevitably going to have to kind of go through the entire process again. Really, I'm going to have to stick it on, and then the top will be in a mess, the side will be in a mess, and that bit. So I'm going to have to like polyfiller it again, and pretty much paint the whole damn thing again, I reckon. The bits that will be left won't be in too much of a good state, frankly, but it's a lot smaller. The area I'll be working with will be a lot smaller, so it will hopefully also be a lot quicker to do. And that's the plan. And I'm kind of oddly optimistic about it. I think it's going to be really good fun. I've never done anything like this, trying to destroy a piece of scenery and turn it into something else. But it's all going to be a bit kind of stick and paste it. Nothing's going to be gluing on flatly, flat edge to flat edge. It's all going to be gluing on already textured stuff. But I think it'll be fun, won't it? It'll be all right. It'll probably be all right. Will it be all right? It might not be all right. But we'll just have to wait and see, I suppose. So that'll be done. And then the idea is that that kind of square, that L-shaped square of cliff, will stick on the end of here. Obviously, that would then give me 2 display boards, which isn't really very ideal. So what I'm currently trying to fashion is how I would connect them. And my current plan, we'll have to see how this works, is to put 3 big spikes into this, kind of long kebab skewers or something like that, that would then slot into that. So that would kind of hold it in place. I'm then hoping to build like a little foam board strip or something that goes over the top to hide the join between them. That will also, if you imagine that, I'm showing that will butt up against that like that. That should also give me access to the lights. There's a little gap in here where I can reach in and get the lights, and I'll have to build that into the design, which is fine. And then, so I'll have these 2 bits that would sit next to each other. This one, of course, is on a frame. This one isn't, so that will look a bit odd. So then what I'm going to do is try and build a frame for it. I'm going to nip over to Homebase, get some kind of little wooden dowel in, and try and build a frame that would fit around both of these things and stick that to God knows what. See, I've got a bit of hardboard, might be foam board at the push. Foam board's a terrible material to use as a base for something, but it's only got to last me that weekend. It's not something I'll ever keep. So yeah, that's the kind of mad plan for these 4 days, I guess. I'm going to do something like that. And then what will happen to the rest of this, the L shape, is that this gate, which Steve Crow, my B-Sign buddy, very kindly lent me, will go back to him in this L shape, because frankly, once if I take the gate out and give it back to him, there's no point keeping this weird L-shaped thing with a hole in it. So I'm gonna return the gate to Steve, say thank you very much, and by the way, I built you this kind of scenic enclosure for it that you might want to store a watcher in the water on. So that's the plan for that. Now, if it was just, as always, there's always one of these at the end of these openings to vlogs. If it was just that, I think I'd feel pretty good. But do you remember we didn't finish our cave trolls? Absolute nightmare. And I was planning on having no paint to do because I was planning on having a nicely, freshly painted cave troll to go along to the GT with. So it seems a bit much, if I'm honest, given there's 4 evenings. But I am going to try again to get these two, or at least one of them, done this week. Who knows if that's possible within those 4 evenings? We'll have to wait and see. But if the absolute worst comes to the absolute worst, I'm gonna bring in this guy. He's my absolute MVP. This is my original cave troll that I painted, I don't know, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, something like that. And he was painted alongside the plastic goblins and Goblin John that I'm bringing. And actually, do you know what? I dug him out, and he's all right. He's not bad at all. So if the worst comes to the worst, he can come along and play at the GT and have his first kind of tournament game in 10 years, which would be quite cute. But ideally, I'll get these painted. So there we go. I'll update you throughout the week, particularly with the board stuff. I think that'll be quite fun. Maybe I'll film me hysterically cutting a piece of scenery I've slaved over in half, and we'll see how that goes. And then hopefully we'll set off to the GT, and I guess I'll come back at the end of the GT, hopefully with a little review of the tournament, and to let you know how all the models got on and how the armies got on, and really wrap up this kind of 6-week series of vlogs. So there we go, 5 weeks down, 1 week to go. Let's keep going. See you soon. So here we go. It's late Monday night. It's a very late start for the session, as always in shed life. I've got the board here, I've got my massive saw for the main work, I've got a slightly smaller work for the finer detail work, and I've got a Stanley knife for the really fine detail work. We're starting the process. I'm going to hack this apart now. The bare minimum, I have to have it cut apart and reassembled tonight if I've got a chance. I'd also really like to get it polyfillered tonight, but we'll just have to see how far we get with that, to be honest. Turn it around. I have marked it up, hopefully you can see on here the various kind of lines that I've kind of drawn on it so that I know where I'm cutting, to try and make something that will fit. Whether or not this is going to work, I don't know, but I was quite excited about it, and I thought you might like to come with me on this voyage of insanity. So here it is. Say goodbye. This is the piece of scenery that I have slaved over for the last week or so to get ready in time for the photo shoot. It's been recorded, and now it's time to destroy it. Fun, right? Let's see what happens when I take a saw to this bad boy. I regret nothing. Probably. We're done. Are you ready? You excited? Here we go. Here's the results. Ta-da! There's the gate. You can see the cave. Hello, I'm in Moria. There's the gate that kind of used to be there. There's the wall swung round. You can see a bit of the clip's been cut off the top. Unexpected thing, you can see the kind of PVA glue here that I'd hoped this wouldn't happen, but I say it's unexpected, it was kind of bound to happen probably. The polystyrene ceiling tile broke there, so a little bit there. I've also stolen a bit of bank, can you see that, from a different bit and stuck it in there. So there we go, that's all worked. I'm quite pleased, to be honest. That's what I needed. It's all kind of fitted together. It's all worked as I hoped, and even for the minute at least, look, can you see? This is the original end. So I even kind of got the measurements right. So you know, for the 5 minutes, that's going to save me. So obviously the point was to not have to redo all of it. That was the original thinking. Now looking at it now, once I've polyfilled it, I can't see there's going to be much of it that won't need repainting, but that's all right. It's a small little surface area, and I am now going to get stuck into that tonight. Like I said, I'd never normally polyfiller over the wet glue, but I'm just out of time, so I'm just going to chuck a load of polyfiller into it tonight and hope for the best, and then we'll see what we're left with. But yeah, hopefully it's all right, and hopefully within about, I don't know, it's not going to take too long, is it? Like an hour tops, probably less than that. It will all be polyfilled, and we'll leave it to dry. Hurrah! Success! So it's time for an update. It's Tuesday night now, so it's the night after we were out in the shed having exciting times out there, and I just want to show you this, that things have gone well. The polyfiller has dried and I have sanded it down, so hopefully we can see the finished thing. And not only that, I've managed to glue the sand down, so you can see a whole bunch of sand and tiny little rocks have now been glued down to add it in to kind of cover up any of those new gaps. This is all the polyfiller that I put down last night, has been since been sanded down, and I'm ready now to cover it in texture paint to make it ready for painting. One other thing you might remember, because it was only about 2 minutes ago for you, there was a giant crack across here where the polystyrene tile had cracked, and what I ended up doing was just taking another piece from further down the river and just replacing it. So I was able to kind of lift this bit off the foam board base from somewhere else and just replace it. So in a weird sort of twist, whilst it is still the same gate and the same bank, the water that is in front of the gate will be different water now. So there we go. It's cool. It's all right. All going well. Pretty pleased with it. And what I'm now going to do is chuck textured paint over it tonight to allow it to dry overnight and then paint it. I'm not sure you'll see too many more kind of updates on this before it's finished, to be honest, because once the textured paint goes on, it's just then kind of dry brushed incredibly quickly and kind of goes from looking not nearly finished at all to being finished very, very quickly. So I'm really confident in that. What I haven't done as of yet is made any progress on connecting this to the other display board and making the base to support both display boards. So I'm going to be heading over to Homebase tomorrow and trying to get some kind of decorative doweling to do something with that, but that's probably the next update you're likely to see. And I even did some painting on the cave trolls tonight as well, so I wouldn't rule out the possibility that the cave trolls have done, however unlikely it might be. But there we go. So pretty pleased with how things are going. I'm going to cover this thing in texture paint and hope it dries in time for the morning. So a bit of a update time. Ta-da! I've got a base for my display board. This is what I kind of said to you at some point I was going to try and make, or have to make, that I needed some way to, if I was going to plug Barlin's tomb next to the what's it called, watcher pool, I was going to need something to kind of put them both on, and this is what I've come up with. Obviously, because it was a very specific size, I couldn't just go get a picture frame and hope it would fit. I had to make something, and I'm really pleased that I've made. I was a bit worried about this, like when I was going to do this or finding the bits, but I managed to find some time today, and it's gone well. So it's a bit of hardboard. Hopefully you can see that. Just a bit of hardboard. And what I did for this was I went down to my local timber merchants when I was in town, and I just went to their offcuts pile, and I just said, "Have you got a spare bit of hardboard?" They had this offcut from some other project, and then they cut it for size for free. So that's really cool. So I got the hardboard and the cuts completely for free. So that was a nice bonus that kind of obviously, you know, wasn't expected, but saved me some money. And then what I've done is buy this like decorative wooden paneling stuff. Hopefully you can see. They call it moulding. I just picked this up in Homebase. It's just you buy it in a really long strip, and one strip was, once I'd done some very complicated maths, one strip was enough to get around the edge. I'm going to glue it on so it looks like the edge of a picture frame, and then I have tacked it on underneath. Let's turn it over here. Hopefully you can see little tiny circular tacks there. I've also put felt feet on this one again, like 4 big ones in the corners, and then just a couple of little ones that had spare over some of the tacks. So it's glued down with wood glue and then tacked on. And then I've put the felt feet on it so that you can kind of move it around the table. It's not gonna scratch anything, which was really cool. So that's gone together surprisingly well, quite frankly. I will make one caveat that if you look at the corner, it's not, look at that. Oh, it's not the kind of diagonal professional picture frame cut that you might hope for and that potentially I was expecting. But if I'm brutally honest, it's currently Wednesday, so there's 2 days before I have to go to the, today is one of 2 days before I have to go to the GT. And I'm really running low on time. And I was like, the potential to screw things up if you get the angle wrong, and the potential for frustration doing it that way was high. And also, I'm not going to keep this. You know, remember, Barlin's team's going here, the watcher pool is going here, and as soon as the tournament's over, the watcher pool's going to Steve, because it's got Steve's gate on, so I'm just going to give him that little watcher pool with his gate and say, you know, do with that as you will. So after the weekend, this has no use whatsoever, so it's not like a display board where I need to keep it. This is kind of like the cliff last weekend in a way. This is literally being made for this weekend to transport these two things together. So yeah, I wasn't too fussed about that. You know, as I said, I think at the start, the whole point of this is pulling this stuff together for the GT, is the potential to getting a Best Army nomination beyond that, and I hardly think this is going to be the difference. So yeah, I did that. It was quite good fun. Pleased with how it went. I've fit everything in. I can't put the watch pool in at the minute because I've just covered it in black, so it'd get paint everywhere. But yeah, they fit nicely in here. This little bit of foam board is just, you can see that there's a little strip of foam board in it. That is purely to hold the watcher pool in place. This is, you know, Barlin's tomb is on a square, on a rectangle, so it's a kind of very regular shape, so you can hold it in place. When you saw what I did to the watcher's pool, it's just bits of foam board and foam hacked apart. So unsurprisingly, it's not a perfect square. So what I've done is there's a bit of an extra gap at the back here. So I've slid this in just to kind of you know, it's that depth there. It'll hold it in place a bit, I hope. This is essentially finished, but what I'm going to do is paint it. I'm just going to paint it black, just keep it nice and simple. Paint the whole thing black so that it hopefully sets off the board quite nicely. I don't really want people to look at it too much, so I'm just going to paint it something innocuous like black. Chuck some black over it, and then I won't be gluing anything into it because I want to keep the Barlin's tomb separate, and I'll be giving the cliff away. But hopefully this kind of rim along here, and the fact that I've got one big tray to carry everything on now will allow me to kind of move it around the GT and make it feel like one display board. So, if I'm honest, very basic, but pretty happy with this. Pretty happy with how this has come together. And I'm pretty hopeful now, if I'm honest, about at least getting the display board done. I'd still have to figure out the tricky thing. I'll have to figure out maybe the next time I show you, I don't know. But there's a Barlin's tomb board here, and there's a watcher pool here, and there's a gap in between them. And it's quite what I'm going to do about the gap to make it not look like a gap between two boards. And I've got a couple of creative ideas there, but you'll have to wait and see. Until the next a future clip to see what I do with it. But for the moment, everything's pretty cool, pretty happy, and yeah, good stuff. On we go. Okay, so here we are. As you can see, progress has been made, and this felt like a good time to check in. It is Thursday night. It's the night before I'm leaving for the grand tournament. Truly the end of all things, and we're not quite there. I can't remember where I was last time I spoke to you, but this must have made progress. This is our new cliff, which as you can see has now been dry brushed. This was brown at the start of the evening. It's now been like really quickly painted over the course of about an hour. I'm not sure if you can see, but in here, and here, I feel like I might have shown you this before, is the original colour. So I've deliberately left a bit of the original ground and original water and original cliff. But you can't really see because it has all kind of blended in nicely. So that's quite cool. But that's just been dry brushed, you know, completely, and is fine now. It's a wetting texture. My board just had its rim painted black since you last saw it, I believe. So that's been done. And Barlin's tomb is now here, ready to go. And so what I now need to do is put it all together and kind of make it hang together and assemble it into one board, kind of strong enough, temporarily at least, to last for the weekend. I feel pretty good. I also need to flock this. I need to texture this, put some static grass on there, do my legendary PVA glue over the top of that, which will probably be the last thing I do tonight. I think I need about 2 more hours on the board. It's 11 o'clock, which is fine. I can do 1 AM and still be alright tomorrow. But sadly, the troll upstairs, he needs about an hour's work as well. So I'm literally just desperate for 1 more hour, essentially. But that's kind of where we are. I'm pretty pleased. We're in good shape. But yeah, I now need just everything to kind of work and go really speedily for the next hour or so to kind of get this all finished and get it all sitting and looking lovely. Hopefully, if I can do that, we'll be golden and I'll have a decent night's sleep before I drive north. So hopefully there'll be another bit in a minute, but wish me luck with it. So just a little clip here for how the gate's going to work. This is the gate that Steve sent me. Underneath there's a hole, and what I've done is I've found 2 sets of the fairy lights I've used for projects in the past, and I've just kind of masking taped them up inside the cap in here. So when you flick it on, we get that sort of effect, which is kind of cool, and certainly does the job. I think it came out all right in the end. God knows why it's not coming through the back. Maybe the lights are in the wrong place. Maybe the paint's a bit darker, but I think it does the job. That's gaffer taped up, as I said, because masking taped up because Steve's going to take the gate back, but not the lights. So at the end of the GT, I'll be ripping this apart and taking it out. But hopefully that will keep them in place, and then that will slide into there. And hopefully you'll see it soon. Good morning. And we are done. It is Friday morning, bright and early Friday morning, the day of the well, not the day of the GT, but the day I'm travelling up to GT, and I'm delighted to say it is finished. Ta-da! So yeah, I think I saw you last night about 11 o'clock when this thing was painted, but a bit of an update on where we were, where we've got to so far. Everything's done, pretty much. So, quick reminder, what have we done? The Barley's tube is pretty much the same. There's no changes here. This is kind of what you would have seen in the last vlog. I don't think I've done anything differently to it. That's just sitting inside this frame that I built. So this isn't glued down or anything. Remember, this is the only part of this project that I'm actually going to be keeping. So this needed to be kind of removable. And the challenge, so more on that later. This was the bit of wall that you saw yesterday with the, I think it had just been dry brushed. So since then I've added some more static grass to it. Let's pop her off, sorry. I've added my patented PVA glue water effect, which again, thankfully, the gods were smiling down on me and it dried clear. And then now the gate is in position. You can see it there. And I've also, one of Steve's requirements, or one of the things he asked me was that I don't glue it into a cliff. So I was allowed to paint it, but I wasn't allowed to glue it into a cliff. So this is sitting in the gap, and then what I've just done is stuffed clump foliage down behind it. So none of that's glued in, but that's just kind of filling in the gaps behind it, which I think looks alright. And we do have our lights back here. Not sure if that'll read, but that's one of them turned on. And that's the other one turned on. So it looks pretty good in certain lighting if you squint from 5 feet away with the lights down. Yeah, I think it works. It does the job. So that's kind of cool. I'm just going to flip those off now because I don't want to. I have no idea what the life is like on either the batteries or the bulbs, but we don't want to waste it when they're going to be on for 2 days solid at the GT. Put those back on there. So I had those 2 bits finished essentially. And there's nothing big there because of course you've seen that cliff, albeit looking slightly differently, finished before, and you've seen Barnard's tomb before. But the real challenge this time, or that I had last night, was to kind of make it a cohesive board. And as I said, this was sat down, it was all measured up, so this is just sitting inside this black frame I made. Then I did the same thing with this. I slide it down here. Now I will say, despite the fact that I'm giving this bit to Steve at the end of the weekend with his gate, I have put a little bit of PVA glue down underneath it. I deliberately tried to not put much, and I'm definitely not testing it. It's far, far less than I would ever do if I was building a display board and wanting it to stay on there, but there's hopefully just enough just to keep it in place a little bit. So there is a bit of PVA glue under this. So at the end of the GT, if you want to see something funny, you can kind of look out for me trying to peel this off the bottom. So we've got that. And then obviously there was this gap in the middle, which was because the gap was always going to happen because of this frame. So the inner frame, the frame that Barnes Tomb is sitting on, obviously has a width to it. This is then sitting on the bottom, so there's a gap between them. But also, I needed the gap because I needed access to the lights behind the door, so the gap was fine. But the tricky thing was, in a single evening, what I would like to have done is in some way built a recessed area for Barnes Tomb to slide into that was all textured and fillered, but I just didn't have the time for it. So what I've gone for is, you can see it along here, it's just black foam board. What I'd normally do is do white foam board, filler it, texture paint it and paint it so it'd look like this. But instead this is just plain black foam board. And what I've done is I've got a piece along here and I've got a piece along here behind the banner. More on that in a minute. They are pinned with dressmaking pins into Barnes Tomb. So they're not glued into Barnes Tomb, but they are then pinned and glued into this. With the idea being, again, that I should be able to remove this, like pull this off from the cliff, and it doesn't really matter if it damages the back. That can be Steve's problem. Whereas Barnes Tomb, I wanted to, I'm quite pleased with this Barnes Tomb, so I wanted to preserve as much as possible. So along here, they're pinned in with a bunch of pins that should just lift off, and then at the end of the weekend, I'll be able to break this foam board off the cliff bit here, and kind of release the two parts. And then the same thing's happened here. So what I've done is along here I've got another piece, a kind of diagonal piece going down there. So it's not the neatest thing by any means, and it's not how I'd normally go out doing things, but you can see the actual effect of this kind of black strip there. So that's this bit, and this bit kind of covering the joint. And then similarly what I've got behind it, I'll spin it round for you. Can we see that? I need to go over here a bit. It's really, really rough. I've just got two panels of foam board over here, kind of just pinned again, and these are glued on because they're glued on and pinned in because I can just rip them off the back without damaging the aesthetics. Just two pieces here to kind of hold them in place, and then a piece down here to hold this place, and little access port here to get the batteries out for turning them on and off. So that's cool. So that's kind of how that works. And you might also be able to notice that just down here, because Barnes Tomb isn't glued into the tray, just where I ever so slightly mismeasured things, and the fact that maybe one side of the frame that Barnes Tomb's on is slightly wider or narrower than the other, just along here I've slid another piece of black foam board just to hold it in place. Again, that's glued to the frame but not glued to Barnes Tomb. So I can't imagine that Barnes Tomb isn't going to get a little bit tacky at some of the glue that's sitting in here. But the main hope is that Barnes Tomb at the end of the weekend will just lift out of this. That's the kind of goal. And then I've done the same thing here, where I just once this was in place, I've just put a few more bits of foam board along the bottom just to hold everything in place. They're not the sort of thing that if you tipped it up, it would keep it in place, but it might just stop them sliding around. I was just a bit worried about Barnes Tomb sliding one way when this is glued in place, and all this sort of stuff breaking off, and those kind of things. The other thing I've done around the front with the gate, let's pull you back, and you can hopefully see just down here, there's just a bit of basically clump foliage, like the lichen stuff. The reason for that is that, again, that I couldn't glue it in, I couldn't glue the gate in, and there's a lip, there's a bottom to it, which for all the photographs for SBG, we were able to trick with perspective and just put things in front of it out of focus in the background, but obviously you want it to kind of look good for people looking at close up. So I just put this kind of ring of lichen on the floor in front of it, just to kind of disguise the lip when people see it. And then of course, as ever, the last thing I do, I always like to do on these display boards, is put the banners on. So I went for, I've always got a banner run along the front of my display board, so they have a cave troll, was fairly obvious, and then speak, friend and enter sort of made sense to have something over here. And then this one was purely, it's kind of contrived as hell, but this was really just to cover up that bit of foam board. I just didn't want to kind of show off that black bit of foam board, so I just put another one on, and I figured what happens between these two spaces, and I thought the idea of putting Mel on in to kind of let them through. You can't go straight through these doors because there's all the gubbins in the background, but I quite like the idea that it almost looks like you walk through the door into Barnes Tomb. But there we go. So yeah, that's it. We're done, and I have to say, I'm really, really pleased. I feel weirdly sentimental about this. Bear in mind that obviously Barnes Tomb will be a cool thing to hang on to, but this this little thing that I've worked on for the last 4 days, this has got the same life cycle that the cliff has. So 2 weeks ago I bought a piece of foam, I spent a week slaving over it and turning it into a cliff, and then I destroyed it, and I spent 4 days slaving over this little bit to re-engineer that cliff into this, and then I'm going to be giving it away and never seeing it again. So it's kind of cool. I've quite enjoyed that part of the process, seeing the hobby as a kind of I don't know, a process or a means to an end or a journey, as opposed to a kind of finished product that you have to keep. I'm feeling quite good about that. Hopefully it'll enjoy its new life in Altrincham, or Steve will just chuck it in a bin somewhere when he leaves Warhammer World, who knows. The other thing I'm genuinely super proud about, because I'm so kind of mildly stressed and sort of demob happy at the moment, that obviously I started this project 6 weeks ago. It was January the 18th or January the 19th, I think, in part 1 of the vlog. And at that point I was sitting on the sofa and I said everything I need to do for the photo shoot. And then I said, and my hope is that by the time we get to the GT, we have a Barlin's tomb and we have the little watcher pool on the end. And even then I knew it was going to be the cliff and it was going to be kind of reimagined. And I'm just really chuffed to be sitting here 6 weeks later and that to have happened. And then what I'm mega proud of is that I made the cliff, the original cliff, and you saw in part 2 me doing that, under real time pressure and stress to get that ready for the photo shoot. But I was still thinking about this pool, and I'm super happy that I got it right, that I made sure that this would be wide enough, the gate would be wide enough to back onto this, and then I made sure that there was enough spare cliff around here, you know, the length of it, to fit onto this side. And I also am really chuffed that I got the width of the water right, that I knew that, you know, when I was making it for the bigger cliff for the photo shoot, I still wanted this water to either be wide enough to put the watcher like that for a display board, which it is, he looks cool, or be wide enough to put him that way and have him crawling up towards the gate, which he is for the display board. So there's part of me that's like, you know what, you've done alright there, kid, you've done alright there. So there we go, indeed. Yeah, and I think that's it. We're good. I had to do this bit today. Normally I'm behind, and I'd like to kind of get packed up and get on the road. But I had to film this bit here because this will never exist anymore. I'm not going to get a chance to do it at the weekend. And once I get back, I'm only going to be returning with the Barlin's tomb. So I really wanted to make sure that I at least spent a little bit of time of capturing the whole thing on film, so it was documented, because otherwise it just won't exist in a couple of days again, which is kind of cool. But there we go. I'm not going to fully sign off the video yet because my plan is to come back from the GT and kind of review the tournament, review how they got on. Remember the goal, what we're going for, the point, as it were. I mean, I already had the Barlin's tomb done, so that was always going to be a display board. But I guess the point of the last 4 days of making this, the only point of it is to potentially get a Best Army nomination. That's you know, I haven't been to GT yet, but going to the GT, that's the hope. That's why you kind of take display boards to potentially get a Best Army nomination. Now, I don't think I will, and I definitely don't think I'll win it. I'll win it because of, you know, the goblins are terrible. But you know, my fellowship's quite nicely painted, my watch is quite nicely painted, and the cave troll's quite nicely painted. Haven't mentioned him, the cave troll's finished as well. Yes, absolute jackpot. His flock's drying on his base upstairs, so you'll see him at some point. But that's the plan. That's why we've done this. We're going to the GT with this board to potentially try and get a Best Army nomination. The fun thing is, to this day, I've never laid the army out on here. I don't know if it fits. We've got 6 fellowship models and somewhere in the region of 34, I think it's 33 goblins and a cave troll to fit onto here. So I kind of think they will, but I truly don't know, and they're all in the case now, so I'm not going to set them up. So probably the first time I see whether they fit on the board will be in Warhammer World. But that's fun. But yeah, there we go. That's the plan. That's where we are. We're gonna I've got to go to work, actually, first things first, as I said, bright and early Friday morning, but I've got to go to work for a few hours. And then I'll be packing up the car and heading to Warhammer World and taking my fellowship and my warrior army, led by Gribbles McSplashsplash, to war at the Warhammer World GT. And hopefully I'll return shortly for you, and in a few days for me, to let you know how we all got on. Hope you've enjoyed this. Hope you like the cliff. Make sure you say a fond farewell to it, because it's going to be gone next time you see it. Okay, and I am delighted to say that the cave troll is finished, right at the death. Here he is, originally dubbed Trolling McTrollface. I've just about got him finished, ready to head off to Nottingham, and I have to say I'm pretty damn pleased with this. So I feel like I've said this at some other point, but this is following the Swords and Brushes paint guide by Chris, how to paint a grave troll, so you can go and check them out if you want. I did that because that way I wouldn't have to think about the paint scheme. I figured I didn't have the time to think about the paint scheme, and so I'd rather just be told what to do. So I followed Chris's guide as close as possible, and I have to say I'm really pleased with how it turned out. There's his face, pleased with the eyes, pleased with the mouth, and then Chris's guide goes into quite a lot of detail on kind of painting texture onto the skin to paint these kind of lines down it, and I was just really pleased with how it came out. Also using a kind of colour scheme that I wouldn't use. It's obviously, you know, grey and pale browns, obviously, which I think everyone's cave troll is, but the way you achieve it is certainly not what I would have done. So you know, cheers to Chris for that video. I'll certainly be using it for my other cave trolls, and it has made me, seeing how it turned out, it has made me actually want to paint the other two. I'll just pop this one back on because I'm not sure if I've said this so far in the video, but this is how the other one's getting on. He's about halfway through and he's been abandoned. So he was abandoned just for time-based reasons, but as you can see that I was working on both of them side by side for a while. You can see that this one's kind of come on significantly further since then, but I will be returning to this guy now to finish him off once I get back from the GT. But yeah, so in a funny old way, our 3 cave trolls that we started with became 2 cave trolls, and that became 1 cave troll. But this is the one I needed. He's got the hammer. I paid the 5 points to have the hammer, so I needed to finish that one. I think it's a cool model. I've always loved it. It's clearly just before he smashes the tomb with Gimli standing on it, which is always a kind of little bit I've liked. But I'm very pleased with how he turned out. I think he's cool. I like the model. I like the paint scheme, and I think he'll be a nice addition to the army. So a nice little bit of success there. And with that, the last model that I need for my army is done. That's it, the GT's over, it's time to destroy this. Let's go. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Well, I'm back. So hello and welcome to the kind of the summary, the review, the final part of this video. I'm back from the GT. It's Monday, the 28th of February, and I'm back with basically what remains of my board. This isn't a big upsetting twist because I know that there's some clips that we shot at the GT. We've seen what happened to it, but yeah, I'm back. Trying to get my head around all the times we recorded, but I think I recorded on Friday morning the actual blurb showing you off the thing, the finished thing, and feeling pretty good. And I was super tired, but it was a great feeling. And now it's an even better feeling being back after a wonderful weekend and being able to relax. And so I thought I'd do a little summary of the weekend and let you know how everything that you've seen kind of been developed for the last 6 weeks, I guess, across these 3 blogs got on. So yeah, Friday, just after I saw you, quite late afternoon, I think it was, I headed north and got to Nottingham about, had a good journey, got to Nottingham about 7 o'clock or so, I think. I met with a bunch of people, some good friends I hadn't seen in years. Since pre-pandemic, which was lovely, as well as some people I'd seen more recently. Headed out to the Beefeater for dinner. What was really nice is I'd put the table and arranged for about, there was 6 of us, but there was another group of 6. There's about 12 of us hanging around on that Friday night around the area. And I got there just a bit early, and I was just able to go to the hotel bar and have a drink with some nerds. Nothing was rushed, nothing was frazzled, it was just really nice. We just sat down and had a beer, and I felt like I was relaxing for the first time in 6 weeks, if I'm utterly honest. It was absolutely glorious. So I was chatting to Neil and Nick, as well as the 3 Italian guys, Tommaso and Ali, who had flown over, which was really awesome. That's just lovely. And anyway, head off to dinner and met up with some old friends and had a lovely meal. And unfortunately, Steve, who I was meant to be sharing a room with, couldn't come on the Friday night. So I had the whole room to myself, and it was lovely. And I had just the best night's sleep. It was glorious. So headed to Warhammer World on Saturday, and I got in, and I was delighted that my display board that you've seen being kind of, my 2 bits of the display board temporarily plugged together had lasted the journey. And my all got set up again, lots more hellos with friends old and new, which was great. My first game I was drawn against Mike Cockwalker and his Moria army, which was cool because he had the Watcher in the Water. There were loads. I don't know if you see her, she's up there, Gribbles my Splash Bash. There were loads of Watchers in the Water at the tournament. It was wicked. It's obviously the season for her. And I'd played Mike before with his Moria, and I'd managed to win. So he was after some revenge. And yeah, you roll the dice to begin with, and he got Moria. So it was Moria v Fellowship, which was cool. It was Contest of Champions. I was very excited because I thought, yes, Aragorn can beat Durbers, before I realised Gandalf is my leader because he's a hero of legend. That was a disaster. But it was quite handy to play Mike because he had a more competitive Moria army than me. He had Drizag and the Spiders to enrage, and he had some Bat Swarms. But he had the Watcher in the Water, so I got to kind of, just spend at least one game going, oh, that's a clever thing to do with the Watcher in the Water. Oh, maybe I'll do that. Mike's a lovely bloke, and we played, but I was always going to struggle. And because there's just no way to protect 6 guys against 2 Bat Swarms and a Watcher in the Water, really. And I think he managed to, I can't remember exactly who he got, but he managed to get an enraged spider and a bat swarm onto Legolas very early and kill him. The Watcher turned up in turn 2. Gandalf put up a channel blinding light to try and stop the tentacles. He rolled a 6 anyway, pulled Gandalf, who's my leader, into combat with Watcher in the Water and ate him, which is obviously going to make it significantly harder for Gandalf to get any kills. And Durbers was hiding, probably rightfully so, I think, because he didn't have very much chance of killing Durbers, of killing and then one of my models, and he didn't want to risk getting him killed. And I had some horrendous luck. I want to say, I think we played 3 turns, tragically, and in that my heroes, my Gimli, Aragorn, Boromir, my 3 attack heroes, there were 4 rolls where they didn't roll higher than a 2, which was hysterically bad. So they weren't even really trying. There was a chance to kind of do some good there. but unfortunately I couldn't. There was a chance for Boromir to kind of heroic combat into the Watcher potentially to save Gandalf, but he chose to just roll 1-1, didn't fancy it, which was nice. I kind of respect his decision in that regard. And then I think he killed like Gandalf and 1 or 2 Fellowship members by turn 2. Frodo was an absolute legend. Frodo put the ring on and charged a bat swarm and a spider to stop anyone else getting them, and kind of survived and did the Lord's good work for a few turns. And I feel like we played either 3 turns or 4 turns, but then I think it was in turn 3. I think it was only 3 turns, because I think in turn 3 he then pulled Boromir in to combat the Watcher and ate Boromir, and Boromir was my last model, so I was completely wiped out in turn 3 or turn 4. It was great fun. I really enjoyed it. It was that's what I was expecting from the Fellowship, but perhaps inevitably I started with a loss, and it was only I want to say maybe about 2-0. You can work it out because neither of the leaders got any kills. It was just like he broke me, and was unbroken. I think that was it. So I think maybe that's a 2-0. But it was really great fun. Great start to the event, and loved it. Spot a lunch in the canteen, which is always good. And then my second game was against Gregor McIntosh, who's a lovely man who I'd kind of met in passing at a previous event where he'd won the Throne of Skulls doubles, but I'd never played, and so I was really pleased to kind of get a game against him. And he had, obviously I was using my Evil Force this time, and he had a Durin's folk army, so he had kind of Durin, the King's Champion, and a Dwarf Captain, I think it was, and we got Destroy the Supplies. And that was my first game with Watcher, and basically if you imagine the two, there's a line of dwarfs and a line of goblins running towards each other, and I really debated for a while what to do with the Watcher. Do I bring him behind my line and try and kill the enemies, or do I pop him behind at the back and try and destroy his supplies with it, essentially, kill the couple of dwarfs that were left? And ultimately I decided to play cautious and put him behind my line, because I just thought there were too many dwarfs to fight through, and he could relatively easily send like the King's Champion and a load of dwarfs back to kind of kill the Watcher. I didn't think it was worth the risk. So I stayed and fought in this battle line, and the Watcher, dear sweet Gribble, she was just immense for me. So chuffed. She grabbed Durin, pulled him over the line, and killed him over the course of a couple of turns. I think it was drained his might, and took him out of the game, which was brilliant. I think at one point he nearly got her down to 3 wounds, so would have reduced her to 3 attacks, but maybe she passed her fate point to stay in, which was cool. Then once he'd killed Durin in one turn, he got both of the heralds, the King's Champion's heralds, who were his banners, dragged them into combat and killed them both, so that removed his banner VPs, and I'd killed Durin. My leader, who was Durbaz, I think got killed. I feel like my leader died as well. But then and it was all going to come, so I'd had to kill the banners just to leave, that didn't get me anything, it just stopped him getting something. So then I feel like maybe we were both broken, or we were going to both break. Both leaders must be there. It looked like it was going to be a draw, and then oh no, maybe that was it. Maybe Durbaz hadn't died, but I'd killed his leader and I was broken, I think. And in the final fight of the game, the Watcher killed the model that would break him, so we were both broken. So I think I won because we were both broken and I'd killed his leader. I think those were the VPs. But neither of us destroyed any of the supplies, because we just got mashed into this kind of, we're both moving 5 inches relatively slow, and we were just stuck in this kind of fight for this battle line fight for the entire game. But it was I feel bad saying the Watcher did it all, because of course all the other goblins did their work to kind of get the other kills and help break the army, but it was the Watcher that got me all of the VPs. She was absolutely immense. So good job, love you. It was really good fun to use. So I was really happy. So that was a game of each of my armies, a win and a loss, and I was really enjoying both of them. So the last game of the day I got to play Wayne Smith, and we had to roll again, and I got the Fellowship, and he had the Kirith Ungol Legion, and we got breakthrough. So I was like, oh good, okay, so Contest of Champions for the Fellowship is about as good as it gets. Even with Gandalf, it's like, alright, I can take that. Breakthrough, where you got to hold 4 objectives, including pushing hard into your opponent's deployment zone, is pretty dreadful, frankly. But again, the fellowship did really well. They put in a really good shift, and you know I was able to kind of anchor myself between two bits of scenery, so all the orcs couldn't bring themselves to bear, and I could kind of just use my heroes to kind of charge 2, kill 2, fight through, charge 2, kill 2, fight through, and that kind of stuff. And it was actually going all right, and I basically, because I had to keep them together, my plan was I'd abandon my home one, because there's no way of capturing the enemy one if you're getting your home one as well. I had one of the side ones, and my plan was to just punch through and try and get to his home one, and then maybe if, you know, killed his leader and broken him, and that was the kind of vague idea. And it worked. I broke him, and I was about to get it. I was about to get, you know, I think in a turn or two, get to the objective. And Aragorn, I should give you some context. This earlier in the game, Aragorn charged 2 orcs. They had a spear support. He wasn't trapped. He lost the fight, and would have had to spend like 3 might. I was like, I can't spend 3 might on that. Or maybe it actually, do you know what? It might have been like a 1-1-2 again, so he couldn't spend the night. And then he took 3 wounds. Three attacks, needing 5, 3 wounds. That was disastrous. So that put him down to something like, you know, 1 wound, 2 fate, or 2 wounds, 1 fate, something like that. I can't remember. You know, I would have used all the fate if there were leader VPs in that scenario, whichever way around it is. I can't remember. And then just as he's about to punch through and get the objective, he charged into 2 orcs. They had 2 spear supports, and he rolled 1-1-2. He had 2 might in the store, and he had his free might point for that turn. Nothing I could do with that. 1-1-2, 4 rolls, 3 wounds. Aragorn was dead. So Aragorn died to 7 orc strikes, which I was quite upset about, if I'm honest. Aragorn goes out, and that's it, isn't it? That's the game. You can't. I've got a teeny tiny hope of maybe doing it if everyone pulls away. If Aragorn just chokes and dies, that's all, game over. So at that point, I then couldn't do anything. I couldn't do anything else. I didn't have enough. I tried with my Gimli and Boromir. Tried to kind of punch through, but just couldn't do anything, and it ended up being quite a hammering. I can't. Maybe it was like a 10. I might have got a VP for being it. Oh no, he would have got more VPs. I think maybe it was like a 10-0 or something like that. No, I broke it. Maybe it's 10-1, something like that. But it was quite a hammering. It was actually a really. It felt like quite a close game, to be honest. It was a great game with Wayne. Really enjoyed it. Hadn't played Wayne before. As far as I can remember, we were both saying that we might have played a doubles game, but we couldn't picture it. I feel like we might have played a game before, but couldn't quite remember when. I know him quite well from just hanging out on the socials and stuff. Really enjoyed it, and I was really proud of the fellowship. Apart from Aragorn, I thought they tried. They gave that a real good go. So there we go. So again, perhaps inevitably a second loss with the fellowship. And that was the ending day 1 on 2 losses and a win. So we headed into Bugman's. They had a kind of pop-up burger cart thing, so that was our dinner. We had the quiz. No seminar this time, which was a shame. They were I've loved those seminars, ever since the Middle-earth team were formed in 2016. And I can remember I was there for that first seminar where they showed off the half-finished Dane and everyone lost their shiz about the excitement to come. But they've always been a major part of those events, so it's a shame they're not doing those at the moment. But we had Jay's quiz, which was great as always. Quiz Team Awesome assembled. Trokey came down, and Nick Bramwell, who is a Quiz Team Awesome OG member, was there. Teamed up with Steve as well, and we did. I thought we did really well. We were pleased with our score, and all the other teams started dropping, and we were standing there with one other team, and we came second. And the other team, to be fair, it's James Wilson's team, spanked us. They got, I think they got about 65 points and we got 58. So it was really close. There was teams on like 51, 52, 53, 54, and we were on 58. And then they were way out ahead on 65. So well done to you guys. They won the quiz. And then after that, we headed back to... We go to the Beefeater, or do we go straight to the Holiday Inn bar? Yeah, we went to the Beefeater, of course we did. We went to the Beefeater and had some drinks, which is really lovely. Just hanging out with people, like every, again, I hadn't seen in absolutely ages, and that was really cool. Catching up and just finding out about everything that had gone on in the day for everyone. It was just great. And
And then we headed back and think, did we have a nightcap? We might have had a nightcap at the hotel bar as well, I think. But headed up with Steve and had our traditional kind of chocolate bar and cup of tea before bed. I don't think I drank much of the tea, as memory serves. I think I passed out. But it was great. Up next morning, had some brekkie and headed back to Warhammer World. And the first game that day was against Michael Haskell, which was awesome. It's always nice when you play it's nice to play new people. It's also nice when you play your friends. And I haven't played Michael much over the years. Certainly not in anger, as it were. So it was great to get an actual tournament game against him. And I was obviously using my Moria, and he was what can I think of the game? It was Fog of War, and he had his Gondor army. And so I picked a Shaman to protect because I figured it would be hiding at the back. I picked a field to get into on the side, and I picked Faramir to kill. My choice was Faramir or Beregond, and I figured Beregond would be hiding at the back. And obviously, if you just line them up, your Watcher's got a fairly decent chance of getting Faramir. He's got to commit Faramir, and then the Watcher's going to get him. But he also had Elisar, and I know Elisar doesn't get you anything in that scenario, but Elisar was just going to wreck my army. Just chopping through everything and giving the banner. So I decided to attack Elisar with the Watcher, and I got him. It took me a while, and again, I can't remember if he did get the Watcher down to 3 wounds, but he definitely missed it by 1, I think, at one point. So, he did 2 wounds, or he did 3, and I saved 1 with Fate, so he kept his 6 attacks. But they fought for a few turns. Aragorn was trapped kind of behind my army, fighting the Watcher, and I managed to kill him, which was great, and gave me a chance, but in the meantime, the rest of my army just kind of folded, and just every turn my goblins were shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And of course, the cool thing about Fog of War, which I think is my favourite scenario, is that doesn't matter. You can get wiped out of Fog of War and still win it, which I love about it. And I love it in Fog of War that a lot of those games end and you don't know if you've won. Sometimes you do because you can guarantee that you've done this and you've protected yours, but a lot of the time you don't know. And I got Faramir into the Watcher for at least one turn, and I think Faramir won the fight, so I think he heroic struck, and then the game ended either on time or because we rolled the 1 or a 2. I can't remember whichever way around it was, and so I'd chosen to kill Faramir and didn't, and Michael had chosen to protect Faramir. So that was a sort of 6 VP swing. I protected my captain, my shaman. He didn't get killed. Michael was trying to kill the Watcher in the water, I think, because he figured he was going to have to deal with it anyway. It's a good decision. And I think he wounded the Watcher, so he got a VP for that. He grabbed his terrain objective, and I didn't grab mine. So, fairly handy win to Michael in the end. But it was a great game. I absolutely loved it. Really, really enjoyed it. Tons and tons of fun. Michael's a great opponent. And also, remember in the clip, the dining room table on Friday morning, where I said, why have we done all this? Why have we done, not the last 6 weeks, but what have we done the last 4 nights for? During that game, Chris, the events manager, came round and told me that I got a Best Army nomination. Yay! Which was awesome. So you can hear me yawning here almost with relief. I think I visibly relaxed at that point. Oh, no, I wasn't relaxed. I was on a great weekend, but it was like, all the weight came off. So all that hacking up in the shed, everything you've seen in this vlog essentially was worth it. Everything you see in the first 2 vlogs was worth it because that was for the photo shoot. But the last week leading up to this and kind of turning those 2 bits into a display board was all worth it. Because I got what I was after, which was the Best Army nomination. So that was awesome. So great game, Michael. Head off to lunch. I always do a big Sunday roast on Sunday at Warhammer World, which was great. Really enjoyed that. Back to game 5, and I was playing Joe Rees-Jones, who was someone who I hadn't met or played before, but he'd won he was an early Battle Streams winner. He won one of our tokens that some of you won't even remember. They were the tokens that Tim McKnight used to give us before we had the dice. He won one of those way back when, and he had it with him, which is awesome. And I hadn't seen one of those out in the wild, so that was really cool. He was a lovely, lovely bloke. We rolled again and I got my evil, and he had an Ent army. He had a beautiful Ent army. He ended up winning. Did he win? I feel like he won 2 of the painting competitions. He won the monster one for Quick Beam, I think, and I voted for him for the for his Pippin as well. But his models were absolutely beautiful, so it was cool to play that. And I like Ents, as you know, and so that was a really cool army to play. It was whole ground, so we were all smashed in the middle, and I can't really remember the details. We were just laughing an awful lot throughout. I can't remember the details, but I feel like the luck just went very badly against him, with things like heroic strikes and heroic moves and all that sort of stuff, and a combination of kind of getting a striking Groblog or Durbers onto one of the Ents who can't strike, because he only had Treebeard that could strike, and then swarming it with goblins and the cave troll and the Watcher in the Water meant I was able to kill a couple of Ents quite early on. I trapped Treebeard, who had he had that big debate. He's got a might point left. Do you heroic strike, or do you save it to try and get to the 6? That kind of debate, because I was striking up from fight 5, so maybe I'd fluff it and all this kind of stuff. And he ended up losing a fight, and I didn't kill Treebeard. I only did like 3 wounds on him, and so it was a right let off. And over the next 2 turns, I killed Treebeard with the Watcher in the Water's tentacles. They did D6 shooting attacks, smacked Treebeard in the face and gave him a fish slap, and did 3 wounds on him. I think it was 2 wounds in 1 turn and one. I was like strength 3 against, what was that, 6s by 4s maybe against defense 8, I think. And did 3 wounds on him, which was just the perfect ending, really. But that was absolutely brilliant. It was lovely. It was really, really good fun. It was a great way to kind of nearly end the tournament. Very, very light-hearted match, which I loved. And then went into the final game, using my fellowship. And I might have said this before, but I am always apprehensive going into the final game, particularly if you had a really good tournament and you just don't want to get drawn against a kind of filthy army or someone who's not done as well as they hoped and is in a bit of a bad mood. And I got drawn against Tom Thorpe, who is one of the loveliest men in all the world. So that was good. He's a mate of mine. We spend a lot of time at these events kind of catching up and chatting about hobby, because his stuff's always beautiful and he always gets best army nominations and that kind of stuff. And I was playing against his wonderful Isengard army. And I was kind of playing against him and his missus, Stacey. They were kind of there. I think Stacey had learned the game. So that was really cool. And he basically had, it was the Legion. He didn't have a bomb, which made me happy, but he did have a ballista. And then he just had tons and tons and tons of Uruks. And it was divide and conquer. So it was another objective one for the Fellowship buff. But I did the same sort of thing that I did with Breakthrough. I was like, right, I'll camp on this one. He hasn't got anyone terrifying in this. There's no Shelobs or Shagrats in this. He's only got these fight 5 captains that can't strike. And I was like, as long as my guys just keep doing what they're meant to, I'll be alright. Channel Blinding Light up to protect me from the ballista. And it did kind of go alright. For a long time, I did sort of similar to the game against Wayne. They were able to just chop through and chop through and chop through and just keep getting through them and kind of doing okay. And I was having the feeling, because I think that's one where it ends once you're broken on a 1 or a 2. I think it's one of those. And I did have that feeling. I was like, if I can just break him, they'll run. And if the game lasts a couple of turns, I'll get to the central objective and I'll win. I'll win this objective. And then Gandalf took a ballista bolt to the face, I believe, and got sent like 2 feet back. And that turned off his blinding light. And suddenly, once a turn, one of my dudes was getting ballisted in the face. And it was absolutely grim. And then suddenly it became clear, you know, when suddenly Aragorn went down, I think, fairly early again, as memory serves, I can't remember. But again, it was the sort of, I'm not getting to the middle. You know, it's like, if I just get to the middle, Aragorn's dead. That makes it harder to get to the middle. But if I just get to the middle, Boromir's dead. That's going to make it harder to get to the middle. And it became quite clear that I wasn't getting to the middle. So I got, I can't remember if I got tabled or if I, just got pushed back into this ruin, and it was another, I think it was a 10-0 or a 12-1 or something like that. I can't remember. Oh, that was it. I broke him. And was really excited, but because of the Legion rule, we didn't have to take courage tests. That's what happened, because of the 33% thing. So I broke him. I was like, yes, it's happening. He was like, yeah, I won't take courage tests until you kill another 7. I'm like, oh, come on. It was brilliant. It was a brilliant, brilliant game. Absolutely loved it. Tragically, the Fellowship fell again, so they didn't get their win, their cheeky win. I'd hoped they might. It was an absolutely cracking way to end the tournament. So, we ended the event on 2 wins with the Moria. 1 loss with the Moria and 3 losses with the Fellowship. So 2 wins and 4 losses, which I don't know if I made any predictions before I was going in, but I was going into that thinking if I get 3 and 3, I'll be really bloody happy. I didn't know how the Moria would compete, but I thought they had a chance. And if I picked up 1 with the Fellowship, I was pleased. So I'm really pleased. Yeah, I wasn't going to compete. And I honestly had 6 amazing games. It reinforced my idea that I've heard people being put off by the GT because it's so competitive. I don't think it is, and I mean that in the most respectful way. I'm not saying it's not. You shouldn't be proud to win it or anything like that. There's people going along to compete, like of course they are, and huge props to Jay Clare for winning it. But once I'd lost the game and I was down playing amongst the other tables, it just felt like throwing skulls to me. It's like, you know, it wasn't loads and loads of people there desperate to win. It was just cool people with cool armies having fun. So if you're in any way put off by the grand tournament because it's so competitive, I just don't think that's the case. I think once you know, if you want to go along for fun, you'll have an absolute blast just as you would at Throne of Skulls. I just loved it. It was absolutely brilliant. So very, very pleased with my with the performance really of the games and stuff. It was a really interesting challenge. I was proud of. I quite enjoyed the challenge of using the Fellowship. It obviously didn't going to work, but it was quite interesting trying to figure out how to get the most out of each model and all that. I really, really loved it, and it felt like a really cool, fun way to end this 6 weeks of kind of, you know, actually taking these armies that I've kind of worked on to war, which is great. So we gathered for the award ceremony, and Tom Thorpe won most sporting. So huge congrats to Tom. He got all 6 game votes, which is amazing, but very, very well deserved. And we all gathered for our best army nominations, and I'm gonna forget, and I'm sorry, I can't remember. I know in the top 3, I can't even remember who won it, but Phil Beale got one of them. I feel Scott got one of them. One of those 2 might have won it. I can't remember. I'm sorry, but they definitely. Was it Tom? Maybe Tom won it. Did Tom win it? I can't remember. But yeah, apologies if I've forgotten who won that. But I didn't, as expected. And then after they'd done that, they announced the new thing they launched at Throne of Skulls, which is the Judges' Choice Best Army, which is where the staff pick a winner. And would you Adam and Eve it? Only winner 1? What's that about? So yeah, I got the Judges' Choice Best Army Award, and this super swanky piece of glass, which I was genuinely blown away by. I think you've seen on these videos, I was hoping for a nomination. I put really no effort into making a display board because I already had it, and just sawed a cliff in half and covered it in goblins that were I thought very badly painted. But I guess they liked the theming of it. They liked the way the old Gribbles was painted. My cave troll, who was finished on the Friday, was nice in the Fellowship. So I guess they carried the goblins or whatever. But so thank you to whoever, you know, who was it, like Sophie and Charlotte and Chris and Dan, I think, and Ed, I think, who were maybe the 5 voting. I'm not actually too sure. But I really, really appreciate that, and it was great, and it was wonderful, and it felt like a kind of a really fairy tale ending, not just to this vlog, but to the 3 vlogs, you know, of like kind of winning an award. It felt like, well done you for the last 6 weeks. That's been worth the effort. So that was absolutely bloody lovely. And then we put the normal offer out that we always do at the end of those events to kind of go for dinner at the Beefeater for anyone who's sticking around. And as it turned out, it was just me and Jay. So me and Jay went and had a dinner date at the Beefeater for about 3 hours, which was great. It was just really good to catch up about all our games over the weekend and everything else that's going on. And that was really, really, really cool. As that was a really nice way to end it. And basically only called it a day because I had to bloody drive home for 3 hours. Because I stayed there all night. So yeah, headed home about half 9 o'clock, and had to face the long drive south. And got home at about midnight. And there we are. That was my GT. Well done to Chris and Charlotte and Ed and Sophie and Dan and anyone else I've forgotten. I'm so sorry for organising that. It was bloody awesome. The event was absolutely brilliant. I loved it. It was great being back again. I love Warhammer World events so much. And it was so good to see everyone, see some people that I hadn't seen in 3 years. and some people I'd seen it throwing skulls and stuff. It was just wonderful. It was a brilliant weekend, and it was really nice after the last 6 weeks you've seen these vlogs to not be hobbying, just to be using some toys and stuff. That was really cool. And that, of course, brings us to the end of this vlog and this series. So we've had 3 of them, and we're done. That was the 6 weeks. So 6 weeks ago I set out in part 1 of this vlog. I think that was vlog 4, to get to this point, to get to the photo shoot and get to the GT, and we've done it. And I'm super chuffed. I've got a few reminders here. I've got Amon here, and I've got my Barnes tomb. So this is what's also, I don't think you will have necessarily seen this as Gribbles, but this is now what's left of my display board. You saw it being ripped apart, but this is my memento. I don't get to keep the Cliff. The Cliff is now living with Steve, but I've got my little balance tomb board, which will be, you know, my little memento, and my Cliff. Both forms of it that you've seen over the last few weeks being made are now long gone. But yeah, so my Cliff's there, which is cool. And I'm very, sorry, my Cliff's not there. My Cliff's gone to live in Altrincham. But my Barnet's team's there, and Gribbles McSplash, who is just absolutely awesome and is my favourite new model in my collection, will be a lovely little reminder of all the work we've done. I made tons of scenery, really enjoyed it. Painted up a couple of really cool models. Yeah, got Kellerborn, he's fine. But got that Cave Troll and got Gribbles. Really pleased with those. And it's been a brilliant few weeks of hobby. But not only that, it's Monday the 28th of February. That's the end of February. So we need to do our February roundup. And the good news is it's positive, and the other good news is it won't take long, because in February I painted 3 models. And you know that because you've seen them. So in February I painted Kellerborn, I painted that Cave Troll, and I painted the Watcher in the Water. So I painted 3 models, which isn't very good, but let's be honest, I did a lot of other stuff. I made a lot of other scenery. And you know what? The Watcher in the Water and Cave Troll, they're monsters, so I think they should take longer. So I'm happy with that for my painting in February. And I bought 1 model. Well done me. I went to Warhammer and I didn't buy any models, but I bought a Dale Captain on the made to order. So that puts me on a total of 15 painted after 2 months, 15 painted for the year, and 1 bought. So I'm quite pleased with that. So a quick and easy February update there, but really positive. So I'm feeling good about what I've bought, and I'm feeling good about what I've painted, and we are well on the way to reducing the backlog this year. So long may it continue. So, like I say, that's the end of this series. I think you will have seen these 3 vlogs, kind of, you know, Road to the SBGT part 1, 2 and 3, over the course of about 4 weeks maybe they've been released. That's obviously far more regular than I'm planning on doing these, and now we're at the end of February, and I expect my next vlog will be out at the end of March, in a more normal kind of format. And you know what? Right now, I feel great. I feel really good about the hobby. I've had this kind of fairly stressful 6 weeks of getting stuff ready, but what I've got coming up for the next month is super chilled out. I've obviously gone through it in that, was it Hobby Vlog 2 maybe, where I went through the plan for the year. All I've really got in for March, is kind of Battle Streams models. So I've got quite a lot of Battle Streams models. We're starting the Last Alliance on Friday actually. So I've got some Battle Streams plastics, which I'm hoping to paint up for quite quickly. And then maybe, I don't think I said this actually, but I was so pleased with my cave troll that I decided to salvage the 2 cave trolls. So the one that's part painted, I am going to finish, and I'm even going to do the plastic one. The plastic one I abandoned, I'm going to paint as well, because I'm really happy with how this guy turned out. I'm going to strike while the iron's hot and paint the other 2. So they've kind of been brought back, they're not being chucked in cases. So I'm going to do those, which is obviously an extra kind of week's worth of painting in March that I hadn't factored in. But maybe if I'm super productive this month, I might get to start work on that Dale army. So that's the kind of plan for the month. A whole bunch of Last Alliance models, a couple of cave trolls, and maybe 6 or 7 Dale warriors if I can get started on that. I'm not sure if I will, but I'm quite excited to, because I really want to get started on that project. So that's the plan. Hopefully you'll be seeing the fruits of that in the next vlog, which you'll probably see in about a month's time. Lots of exciting fun to come. But that's it. We're at the end of the road. I hope you've enjoyed this series. Let us know what you think in the comments. And I will see you soon on Battle Streams of Middle-earth, either on my next hobby vlog or on our next live stream. Until then, take care.